Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of Poland Daily Travel. We are ensconced in the Fabergé egg of kitchens.
If only it were true.
This is the kitchen of Nicholas Richardson. I cannot tell you the address, but if you write to me, care of Facebook on Poland Daily Travel Facebook, I will be sure that you get the address, but don't tell anyone else. Especially for you ladies out there who are fans of Nicholas's Prince Charles impression, which he's promised that he will do at the end of this segment. So wait for that. We will be talking to Nicholas as, well, not even Nicholas. We'll be talking to the Prince Charles, the embodiment of Prince Charles in Warsaw. Now, we are gathered here to participate in your in an example of your proficiency that you've gained over the lockdown. Because wait a minute, it wasn't really a lockdown. We weren't locked in, but it was a quarantine.
Yes,
it was a quarantine.
Well, sort of.
It's not a lockdown.
Well,
I mean, they didn't lock us down.
I had to go out to get provisions.
You had to go out to get provisions?
Provisions,
We're not on a wagon train. They're not provisions. You just go and get food at the shop. What
yeah, exactly. But
provisions?
It was.
What are we?
It was more exciting than that. When
We're
there was
not
a lot
being besieged by savage Indians.
You mean I wasn't foraging?
Or savage Native
you mean
Americans.
The foraging was all in my mind.
Yeah, that was all in your mind. No, but
have you seen the natives here?
I've seen a few, I've seen the natives in the summertime, and let me tell you, folks, the girls in their summer's dresses, something to see. Yeah. But all kidding aside, because we're going to be very serious, are you going to wear the tie?
Well, I had a request to wear the tie from my fans. I have fans.
You have fans?
They wanted to see what they describe as James Bond in the kitchen.
You've already got fans?
But if it troubles you as the director, I can remove it if it troubles you.
No, listen, I'm not Hitler, I'm a director.
Yeah, well.
And that's all. I'm not even Mussolini.
No.
I'm not even, Mussolini's grandson.
You're not.
No, or great-grandson probably would be. I'm none of the above.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
And that's what you need to understand about me. There is no autocrat in me whatsoever. Take off the tie!
Really?
No.
Like, it's up to you.
If you want to keep it on, keep it on.
Well,
You're going to roll up your sleeves?
I will roll up my sleeves.
You got some nice cufflinks?
Yeah, I got some nice cufflinks.
I mean,
will roll up, just for you, I will roll up my sleeves.
Because I have no idea.
I have to roll up the sleeves anyway, because I don't...
You're going to roll them up?
I will, because I need to get my hands into things.
You need to get your hands into the...
into the stuff.
Okay, what are we going to be cooking?
Well, we're going to be cooking some bread rolls.
Bread rolls.
I needed to cook them anyway. I've been cooking them for a few weeks, and my boys have now decided that they prefer homemade bread rolls.
You got two boys, two boys.
Two teenagers.
Who eat like gannets.
Well, yes. And
what's a gannet?
It's a seabird that eats fish.
Okay.
And they've decided that they don't like, so every 2 or 3 days I have to cook bread rolls. So I thought, I was going to cook them anyway today, before you kindly turned up with your crew. And then since it is Poland Daily Travel...
No, we did prepare. I called you in advance. I didn't just show up and say cook.
No, exactly. But it's funny the way I tell it.
Like Mussolini would do.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then because it's Poland Daily Travel, I'm going to do something French, which is a bit more exciting, a tarte tatin, which is a French apple tart, but made in a particularly exciting and television...
A French tart?
made in a way which is a bit more exciting for television, because, more can go wrong. But it's jolly tasty. Yeah. And I've made it a few times before, so I'm still learning, still trying to perfect my tart. My tart.
Yes. It's very important.
Finding the perfect tart is very difficult.
It is very difficult to formulate.
Exactly.
As well.
Exactly.
To find or formulate. I can remember searching all over Paris for the perfect tart one summer.
Yes. And were you successful?
At the last moment, as the Tour de France was coming into Paris, down the Champs-Élysées, I remember sitting there. The sun was glinting in the west, because it was setting. It was, the end of the race. And yes, the perfect tart approached.
Good.
And it was all good.
So
it was brought by the waiter in the thing.
Excellent. It's very nice in Paris to sit and watch
I sat and watched the race come in.
By.
I watched the Tour de France come in from a cafe in Paris. That was something, as a young kid over there, I said, oh boy, I'll remember this the rest of my life. One day I'll tell it on television. I didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know.
Exactly.
I didn't know.
Came in useful, this anecdote.
I had no idea.
Anyway, that's the idea, and I'll do the two things simultaneously.
All right.
There's one, as bread, with bread you have gaps. You do things, you wait a bit for Mother Nature to do it. Then
so which are we going to do first?
We'll start with the bread.
We'll start with the bread.
Then when the bread is going on its first rise, we will then turn our attention to the pastry for the tarte tatin.
What?
Tarte tatin.
Tatin?
Tatin.
What the heck are you saying? What language is that?
French.
Oh, that's French. Okay.
It's French.
It's not what Monica Bellucci would say.
No, well, she might, because she actually speaks French. But she would probably say something equally
How do you know
delightful
she
in
speaks
Italian.
French? He's in love with Monica Bellucci. Okay, all right. Let it be said.
Everybody
Let
knows.
it be said.
Everybody
Let it be
knows.
said.
They all know. They know that she is the standard by which others are judged.
Yes, right.
And I've been also perfecting my lasagna in case I get the call from her.
Lasagna. No.
I'm modeling lasagna
What
today.
if I called you and pretended to be Monica Bellucci?
I would be able to tell I recognize
Really?
your voice, even
Yeah.
when heavily disguised.
Well, my legs, I got great legs. You wouldn't tell by that. You couldn't tell by that. Okay, never mind. Okay, look, folks. Before we go, this fellow right here has got something to. He's got something to say. Okay, go ahead. I thought you were going to do Prince Charles.
Yeah, I'm delighted to have you in my kitchen. We're going to try a bit of cooking. It should work out if Will doesn't
Do anything
interrupt.
stupid? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So join us in the next part where we get cracking.
Well, that was Prince Charles. Nicholas as Prince Charles. We will be back and we'll be cooking a la, I don't know, famous cook. What's a famous, the one who shouts and throws
Gordon
things?
Ramsay.
Gordon Ramsay. We're going to be just like, or Jamie Oliver is another
Oliver,
one.
yeah.
He's famous, right?
I always liked Tim Burton Race. He was a bit more.
Tim Burton Race.
He was a bit more intellectually about it.
I remember Elizabeth David when I was a lad.
Yeah, exactly.
Elizabeth David was famous, right?
Exactly. There's Heston Blumenthal.
Yeah, she
who
was
really it's
Heston
more like a
Blumenthal.
chemistry experiment with him.
Incredible.
Not really very practical.
Yeah. So Poland Daily Travel does cooking
Hey.
with Nick. We're cooking. Yes, yes, because everybody cooks today. And so we gave in to the pressure not only of the general populace throughout the world, which loves cooking shows and cooking travel shows.
Yeah.
We traveled all the way to Bielany.
Exactly, in darkest Warsaw.
No, it's a cooking show, not a dancing show.
Yeah, that's your stand.
I don't know why I was doing that.
No, I don't know.
I thought it was the dancing show.
I
But that's
don't-
next time,
yeah,
right?
That's next.
Dancing with the Not Stars, we're going to do, right?
Yes,
But this is cooking
it is.
with a television star.
Exactly.
That's what we're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I'm the sous chef, right? What does that mean, by the way? You said that's what I was.
Underchef.
I'm an under chef. 'Cause
Yes. They sort of peel the vegetables and stuff.
I got to peel some things.
do the menial task.
Do the menial task.
The creative geniuses like me can put it all together.
Do I have to
in
sweep
edible
up and
form.
things like that?
Yeah, well, no, there are
The
probably
sweeping
people
up?
even below sous chef.
Good Lord, the ego of these chefs. It's incredible, folks.
It is.
Let me tell
It
you,
is entirely.
There's hardly enough room in here for two
There's
heads.
only one thing worse than a chef. That's a chef and a television camera. Because it brings out the worst in people.
Okay.
Look at Gordon Ramsay.
We're getting a good example of that. Okay, what are we looking at here?
We're looking at bread. We're going to start the bread, okay? So what I've got here is about 300 millilitres of lukewarm water. It doesn't really have to be lukewarm water.
Lukewarm water, 300 milliliters.
Yeah, but in the description underneath we'll have the recipe,
Right.
into which I'm going to put about a teaspoon and a half of sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Now I am using, in this room, I'm using real yeast because you can get it here, it's quite good.
Okay.
So just to test that the yeast is still alive, it should be. We put it in the water, so this is about
But
20.
that looks like tuna fish. Are you sure that's
yes,
yeast?
Yeah, I've
Okay.
used it before. We've got about just under 20 grams.
Because
which is
tuna
about
fish
right.
wouldn't do the trick.
Which is
would it?
about right. And we just do this for, A, it helps get the yeast started, and B,
Okay.
it means we can just double check that the yeast is actually still alive. So that just takes a few minutes to store. Once it starts beginning to bubble, we know it's ready. Okay? Then in the meantime, we swap the sugar and we get a teaspoon of salt, which we will add to, and I'm using bread flour, obviously, for making bread, and there is a difference between bread flour and other flour. So don't be tempted, ladies and gentlemen, to use the wrong kind of flour because
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't use roses, for example.
You'll get the wrong kind of result. And I hadn't realised how many different types of flour there are till I
There are a lot of different types of flour.
Till I started. So that's a bit.
Dandelion. Well, that's the wheat.
We need a bit more.
Daffodil.
Yeah, there are all sorts of flour. But even within the cookie, you've got different flours for pastry.
Oh, you're talking about cooking flour.
Well, I'm talking about bread flour. The other flour, which we'll be using later in our other dishes, just normal, what Americans would call universal flour.
Universal flour.
But we just call it, the rest of us in England, in speaking.
And what do you call it in England?
Plain flour.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Plain flour.
So it's just about.
Very simple Anglo-Saxon.
We are simple Anglo-Saxon people.
Nomenclature.
But if it wasn't for us, you'd all be speaking French, so be grateful.
Yes, indeed.
So there we've got about.
I do speak French, by the way.
We've got 500. So that's
it
about
didn't work in
500
my
grams
case.
of that. And we'll put in, some people get very excited about salt. I normally do for 500
Don't put
grams.
too much salt.
Yeah, it's a spoon and a half.
Come on.
That's okay. That's that. And then while that's doing, I take the old trusty wooden spoon.
Trusty?
Even a broken wooden spoon is useful, and then we just give that a preliminary mix around while we're waiting.
Very good.
And I know the idea of me cooking on television, it reminds me of Dr. Johnson comparing, because of the 18th century when people had a different view, comparing women preachers with dogs walking on hind legs.
Oh, right.
And he said, it wasn't that it was done well, you were just surprised it was done at all.
Okay.
And I think many people would be surprised to see
you cook.
me, of all people, cooking in front of a camera.
I think maybe people will be surprised that I'm allowing you to cook on my show.
Yeah, well, I'm very grateful. I'm grateful for, So anyway,
no, but I thought it would be fun.
It is fun. Cooking should be fun.
I'm learning something. A guy can learn how to cook.
Yeah, right? Cooking's easy. It's much easier. I mean, cooking's easy. No. Baking is a bit trickier in the sense that proportions matter. So we're just going to wait. Just going to wait a few minutes to just check with the yeast.
How many minutes?
Well, I normally let the yeast sort of show that it's live. I normally give it about 10 minutes.
You give it 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
And how long then you add it to this?
Then I will add it to this. I will add it to this and mix it and then knead it. And I set it, you will see. You'll see. And then I set it aside and let it rise for about, depends on the temperature, for about 50 minutes.
Nicholas is going to be kneading, yes?
I'm going to be kneading the bread, yes.
Yeah. It's kind of hot in here, isn't it?
It is.
It's hot outside, yeah.
It is. Anyway,
it's summer.
So what we've got the bread and salt mix. So I just make a space in the middle of the flour.
You make a space in the middle, right?
Yeah, like
yeah, show them.
Yeah, just
okay, now I just crumble back in.
Just a little well in the middle, really.
Right, a well in the middle.
And I'm adding about 20 grams of olive oil.
Okay.
And now we've checked that the yeast is working, so that all goes in like that. Lovely, all there.
And
then we
then
we mix it all together and start. I always start with a spoon of a wooden spoon just to help.
The yeast makes it rise. Is that correct?
The yeast makes it rise. Yes.
Because it gets to work. The bacteria gets working in there.
And you just sort of keep.
Our stomachs are full of yeast, aren't they?
They are full of all sorts of things. Yes. Yeah. You can. Some people obviously you get a machine that does this for you.
Okay.
But I don't have a machine to do it for me.
Right.
Gadgets are all very well, but getting your fingers in and feeling that nice moist warmness is
there's nothing like it. It's very hard. It's like sculpting, isn't it?
Exactly.
And you're going to have to shape this eventually, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. When we divide it up into the individual rolls and shape it,
you will shape it into rolls later. Because it's got to sit for how long?
But it depends on the time, but round about 45 minutes.
It's got to sit for 45 minutes. So in between.
So there we go. So we pour it all out like that. You see?
Okay.
Okay. Get it all out. It all looks a bit of a mess. And it's all very sticky. But the idea of kneading it is to sort of bring it all together. You see, and this is actually not too bad. But sometimes you feel it's very sticky. And the beginner's mistake is, it's sticky. I've got to put extra flour on the working surface.
Okay.
Which is a mistake because all that happens is it doesn't get any less sticky.
Okay.
But it just absorbs the flour and sort of also makes, and that's getting a bit sticky. I'll just get my little. Sorry.
It looks like fun. You could
little scraper, which I forgot.
You could throw that and probably stick to the wall, wouldn't it?
Not quite, which I forgot to have. But a scraper, so just getting it together. And you'll find as you work it, it'll become less sticky. Because at the moment it's also
very exciting.
It is very exciting. And the idea is, as you're kneading, is you try and keep one side on the sort of one side.
That's like N-E-E-D. You knead the bread, like you.
K. I think it's got a K at the beginning.
Oh, it's got a K. It's a silent K, like a night.
A lot of people will look at that's horribly sticky. I've got to get lots of flour on my hand. And the answer is no. Resist that temptation.
Okay, so you're going to be working on that for a while. What's next? What's in the next program coming up?
Well, in the next program, we'll actually leave this up, put this on one side, and then we'll start the pastry.
So people are going to watch a further program to come back and see the shaping of the bread, right?
Yes, exactly.
So we're going to work on a tart?
Yes. We're going to start the tart. The logical order is to do the pastry first.
The tart. Okay. Yeah. That'll be fun. Okay. We're going to start the tart. Or start the tart.
Start the tart.
Start the tart. If you're Edward G. Robinson. Okay, thank you for watching. While Nicholas finishes kneading, we need you to watch Poland Daily Travel. In the next exciting episode, we're going to be doing a tart tatine, according to Nicholas. Tatin?
Tatin.
You are a chef extraordinaire.
Extraordinary, certainly. Extraordinary, well, maybe.
Yeah, an
Yes.
aficionado
Yes. Well, I'm just,
of
you know,
great cooking.
show
Cuisine,
you some
cuisine.
stuff
In your
I've
case.
had a bit-
I call it cooking, you call it cuisine.
Yeah, well, cuisine is,
Right?
yes, well, it's cooking, I suppose. Baking, technically.
Baking, okay. And in the last episode, we saw you were kneading
I was
bread.
kneading the bread. The bread
Massaging.
is, the bread
means
is just
massaging.
going to rise. It's there under a clean tea towel.
Okay,
in the
it's right
bowl.
here, it's right here.
It's rising there.
That was from the last episode. We kneaded the bread, and now the bread needs to breathe.
It
It's
needs
breathing.
to rise. It's just going to
gonna
rise.
It's going to rise up and take over our next
All being
future
well.
episode. A
All
future
being
episode.
well, yes.
Right. So right now,
Well, now we're starting the tart tonight. We're starting because it works sequentially that
a
way.
tart.
Yes, we're making the pastry for the tart.
Okay, great. That's
Now,
very exciting.
you can go on the interweb and see great chefs buying their pastry in the
I call
supermarket.
it the WWW.
Yes, the interweb.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and there's one in fact of Jamie Oliver making a tart tatin with pastry he bought in a supermarket, which is fine. It makes life
Amazing.
simpler.
Where did you buy yours?
I didn't, but I'm making it from scratch.
You're making it from scratch.
Because it's more interesting television seeing me struggle to make pastry than it is actually be unpacking.
I mean,
the
if you
packet.
just bought it at the store, it's cheating, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's what I would
Anyway,
do.
so here
Yeah.
we have 220 grams of plain flour, or as Americans would say, universal flour.
Right. Okay.
Just plain flour, not
Yeah.
bread flour.
Two countries separated by a common tongue.
Yes, exactly. And we just, some people recommend sort of doing that, sifting it to get a bit of air into it. I mean, I'm not sure that's entirely necessary for this sort of thing. But we're making a short crust pastry. Now, sometimes folk do it with a puff pastry, or the mi-fai in
May
French.
I say, you sifted that beautifully.
Thank you, thank you. And into this, that's 220 grams of plain flour. Into this, I'm adding 110 grams of butter and lard, equal. About 55
I love
grams.
lard. Have you got the extra lard? Because I
Yeah.
just rub it on myself.
It does tend to actually really help the pastry. That's been in the fridge, so it's good. And we just put that in there. The idea is that we actually combine these together. Now, one of the things, if you do, you can do it, generally rub it with your fingers, which is obviously very exciting.
Which is obviously fun.
But you don't want your hands are warm, of course, so you don't want the butter to melt too much. So I found this is a very useful device for just sort of, and of course, if you have a food processor, you can do it with a quick pulse movement on a food processor, which makes life much simpler. But as we
a pulse movement on a food processor. I know what those are.
Yeah,
I've seen them.
You don't want to get it. You don't want this to sort of become so fine that it's almost like flour again. But I don't have a food processor, so I'm doing.
I feel a bit like the Odd Couple. I'm Oscar and you're Felix.
Yeah.
I hope you don't mind. Yeah. I think that most people watching this would agree that I look like the guy who would not be able to cook, and you look like the guy who's very at home in the kitchen.
All the world's great chefs are men, of course.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of fan mail actually from people who've seen some of my cooking things. I've learned some surprising insights into female psychology.
Really, have you?
Because
I noticed on Facebook that you've bloomed in the eyes of many women.
You know that Facebook group of which we're a Rocky or Lockdown.
You're in Morocco lockdown?
Yeah, they had a competition to bake, and my chocolate cake won the contest.
You won the contest.
I won it with
you beat out the ladies.
My chocolate cake, we got the most votes.
That's right.
Now you may say, "Aha, it looks nice," but do you make it? Did anybody taste it?
How did it taste?
Excellent. In fact, it was so good that my younger son asked if I remake it for his birthday cake.
And you did?
I did. And
how old's your younger son? What's his name?
Alexander. He was 15 for his birthday.
Alexander is 15. Okay.
And another friend asked if I would make one for her name day.
So and can we say what her name is? Or you can just make up a name?
No, I won't make
Agnieszka.
Well, that wasn't her name necessarily.
I know, that's just what I said.
But anyway,
making up a name. Okay, wait a second. I don't think that's a good one. Marta. I prefer that.
Okay, whatever name.
Beata. Okay, that's my last one.
Name.
Beata.
But the point is that it means
only 10 names for
somebody
women.
else has tasted my. So it's not just that it looks okay; it actually tastes nice. And you see, the idea is you're combining the fat, in this case the butter and the lard, with the flour.
Okay.
So you get a consistency which is a bit like breadcrumbs.
It's a bit like breadcrumbs. So you're really getting in there with this, with this, what do you call it, crushing device?
Yeah, it has a French name which now escapes me.
Yeah, it has a French name, yeah.
But the idea is, of course, it's metal, so it's not going to be warm. So it's not like my fingers. It's not going to really start melting the butter, because you don't really want the butter and the fat to melt too much.
You don't want the butter to melt too much, okay. And this is the pastry. You're going to form this into something, or what?
This is a pastry, which will be formed into pastry.
We'll be right back after this bumper, and Nicholas will attempt to put the pastry into a dish.
Well, not first. It's got to sit in the fridge for a while.
Yeah? Can I help?
Yes, you just stop interfering.
I could help by being a little more entertaining.
Yeah, and the idea is to get this, and you can do it with your fingers if you don't have one of those devices, to get this sort of looking a bit like in a sort of breadcrumby type consistency.
Mm-hmm.
No, you can.
You want to show that what it looks like?
It sort of like sort of breadcrumbs, quite big breadcrumbs as it turns out on this occasion, because the butter was very cold.
Right.
But yeah, that you don't want to overdo it.
Okay.
That's
and then what's next?
Then you add. This is water which has been chilled in the fridge, so you just add a bit of water, not too much.
You don't know how much?
Well, it's about a tablespoonful initially, just to bring. And then you just want to gently bring it together. You're not kneading it like bread, but you're sort of pressing it to combine it.
Mm-hmm.
You see, into a. And you know you've got enough water when you sort of compressed it and you rub it round the bowl, you get all the crumbs up, you see.
So it wants to bind
together.
together.
It wants to bind together. And the idea is you don't handle it, you're not kneading it because you don't want it to be like bread. You don't want it to be long and tough, but you just want to make sure you've mixed all the ingredients together, you've got the moisture in it. You've sort of bound it.
Uh-huh.
And then you shape it more or less like that. So that you see that's quite...
Okay.
And then you shape that more or less into a sort of disc shape.
Right.
And then you put it into the refrigerator. You can use cling film. I've got a little freezer bag.
Yeah. Okay.
So I put that in there, and that goes into the refrigerator for about half an hour.
Okay.
And then by that time we'll be ready to move on.
And what's next after that?
Next, and then we prepare the apples for the tatin.
Prepare the apples, right?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks for watching. Come back in the next program, and we will be doing apples and putting the tart into the frying pan or whatever.
Yes, exactly.
Put it in the pan and then carrying on. So right now we're waiting to shape rolls.
Shape rolls.
We're waiting for this to do what?
This is just cools down and just
to cool down and be ready.
And be ready, yeah.
For the pastry, and we've got the rolls are here. It's in here.
We're just waiting for the bread to rise a bit.
We've got to wait for this to rise a bit. How's it doing? Oh yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it's right. It just needs about another 20 minutes probably.
Another 20 minutes. So
we got time to peel our apples while we're waiting for that.
So folks, you're going to have to watch all these episodes in a series to get the full flavor, so to speak, of what's going on. But that's okay. We'll keep it in a series for you. And on the YouTube, and of course, if you watch the show every night, you're getting all of this. So we will come back in the next episode,
we'll peel some apples and talk
the
about
fourth
apples.
of the series, to peel some apples and show about preparing
ready for action. Yes.
ready for action with the tart, right?
With the tart.
Amazing.
That's the spectacular bit of the program.
All right, this is exciting. This is like,
real cooking, like a real cooking show.
Yeah, it's a real cooking show. Okay, what we're doing is, if you've been watching the last previous 3 episodes, we've been preparing bread and a tart. That's right. I'm learning how to cook. And Nicholas, who's become proficient during the quarantine and earned several Facebook prizes amongst the group of people living in Warsaw, is showing us how to do his stuff. We got over here, we got the bread that is rising, okay? It's rising. It's not ready yet, but it's rising. Okay, we're waiting, and that's going to be bread rolls, right?
That's going to be bread rolls, yeah.
Make some bread rolls. In the fridge here, we have the pastry, which is cooling down. Can you see that? It's cooling down. So we got that. Oh, some nice cheese in there as well. Be having a snack in a little while. And right now we're going to cut some apples.
We're going to peel the apples.
Okay.
Usually about 8 apples is sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
You can go on watch. French chefs get very excited about particular types of apple. I mean, any eating apple will do.
The French are very excited.
One that doesn't get too... I found that this is golden delicious.
When it comes to food, they're very excited.
And this is very...
Temperamental, I mean.
They are, yeah. And it's a very useful little tool. It's an apple corer. Because you want to get rid of all this, so you just put it over the core like that. And it removes the core of the apple.
Fantastic.
It is.
Yeah, you could use that if you had a bad tooth.
Yeah.
You could.
And then you want to, obviously, there's no easy or quick way of doing this. If you don't have an apple core, you can just use a knife in normal. Or you can use a melon baller just to take out the bit with the seed in the middle. But I found that the other day in the...
Can I core an apple?
Yeah.
See how it goes? Just put this in the middle,
Yeah.
Make sure you don't get your finger in there, folks, because you're going to need that finger later.
You're gonna need
I've
that
just
finger later.
cored successfully an apple. It's the first time I've ever done that. But let me tell you, it feels good.
Very
feels
satisfying.
Good.
I just want to...
It's very satisfying.
And just peel the apple.
Takes it right out.
You can use a knife. You don't have to.
Okay. And we're gonna core several apples.
We're going to core several apples.
All of those apples? How many?
8. Well, I'm using 8. I find 8's about the right size.
We need 8 apples for this tart.
8 apples for this
tart. So it's full of apple goodness, isn't it? It's not synthetic, right?
Because
some people have the synthetic apples. I don't like those. The synthetic apple. I don't like that.
I don't know where you've been finding synthetic apples.
On a synthetic apple tree.
Ah, right.
Yeah, that's where you get them. But I find them unsatisfying.
Yeah, you just get rid of all the.
Okay, and then what are we going to do? We're going to put it in the pan.
We're going to put it in the pan eventually.
Put it in the pan eventually.
And then we just we're going to cut them into half.
Yeah.
Because half is just check we've got all the core out. And then we do the same all over again.
Do the same all over.
We've done it till we've got all the apples.
And you got to do every apple like that.
Every apple like that, yeah.
Okay, so just you do the core, and then you do the peeling here, and then you put the apples. You cut them in half right there, and you got everything. What nice! This is Polish, isn't it?
It is. It's Bogusławiec, yeah.
That's fantastic. I love this stuff.
It is quite.
It's got a nice heft to it, doesn't it? It feels. This is really quality stuff. It's nice. How much that cost you?
Oh, don't I see? Yes,
you didn't buy that. Your wife bought it.
Well, probably. I can't
or some
remember.
lady that you sent out.
No,
who knows?
I just can't remember one.
You can't remember. Okay.
This stuff ages.
All right. And Nick, what do we got here? You're going to mix everything together.
We're going to start the actual tart mixture with the apples, and we're going to caramelize the sugar first, which is a fairly slow process. So we'll put the pan on a sort of medium to highish heat. And then we got some softened butter. There's about 80 grams of butter here. So we'll put that on there, spread it all over there like that. I mean, there are various methods of doing this, but this is the one that I found has worked for me. Put it on there like that. Then we got about 180 grams of golden castor sugar.
180 grams. That looks like a lot of sugar to me.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And then we just really leave that to gradually, the sugar will gradually
for a while, yeah,
caramelize, and then and that's basically all you need. However, for a bit of extra, since we're on television, it's a bit extra blinging it up. We can add, because it's actually adds very nice flavour. We can add some vanilla. You just open the vanilla pod and scrape out the seeds, which is there we are. Looks good. Looks like a real chef. Just pop that in. And we can put that, that's quite nice. We put that to get some flavour, put that in as well. Again, don't really need it, but I sometimes put a couple of star anise in just for a bit of extra, flavour and artistic look.
Is that cloves or something?
It's anise. It's a sort of like this.
Anise, okay.
Anise,
it's like
the anise flavour. So I just rinse my fingers.
Yeah.
And the idea is to just let that.
So you wait with this for a while. Yeah.
You wait with this. You want this sugar to gradually caramelise, which takes a while. And the trick is, of course, not to put any utensils in, otherwise your sugar will immediately crystallise again. So you just got to be patient, really.
Okay. We were waiting for bread to rise.
Now Mother Nature's taken.
It's taken several days.
It hasn't. It's taken about 40 minutes. It's a warm day. So our bread has risen. So we actually just going to beat out the air so that we get an even.
We're making rolls, right?
We're making bread rolls. Yeah. Now I know from experience that this weighs about 810 grams, something like that. Yeah. Which means I'm going to make nine rolls of about 90 grams each.
There you go. Okay.
So, and I'm not experienced enough to be able to do it by eye, so I will sort of just approximately weigh it, just so I'm not too far out. So I'm going to switch the thing on.
Okay. What does it say?
111.
It's too much.
Too much. I tell you, it takes.
You only want 9, right?
I want 90 approximately. 91, 92 is not
okay. You got 92. That's good enough.
That'll do for that one, and then we'll do it again on this one.
See, you get closer this time. It's almost worth betting on this.
That was 89.
That's fine, isn't it? You're going to put a little more?
Yeah, 89. That was quite good.
That was amazing.
Well, not my first.
It's not your first rodeo, is it?
This American chap I know. I mean,
says that?
91. That one was 91. Spot on.
You're getting better with each successive. What do we call it? Each successive. Lump.
87. Go on, we'll just make it a bit more.
That was 87.
94.
94. Oh, that's all right. We can go with that. And how many do you want to get out of this?
I want to get about 9. Yeah, it's about 810, 850.
Okay, that's number 5.
850.
That's perfect.
88. 800 and whatnot grams, so 9 nines are 81. So here we got.
But sometimes if you never know, because one of the smaller gram ones could be bigger than the ones with bigger grams, couldn't it? If it's like more ambitious, or the enzymes are more active. They're not enzymes, are they?
I don't think so. 94.
They're it's called bacteria, isn't it, or whatever? No, it's not bacteria. What is it? In the yeast.
I'm not quite sure.
It's alive.
It is alive, yes.
It's like did you ever see the movie The Blob? This is what this reminds me of. A smaller blob. With Steve McQueen, his first film. Paramount, 1958.
Yeah, I remember. I don't think I actually ever watched it. But
His first film.
I remember seeing it.
Well, it's the first one he was a star in.
76.
And he's chased by a large blob through the whole town. It eats the town eventually. Yeah. So it's kind of like if we had a big blob of your rolls, and it began
so
to
that's they're
to
each
eat the
approximately 90. So what we
Is
do
that
now,
9?
each, yeah. So we just put it down. And there we fold it in a roll. So we fold it to the centre, to the centre, to the centre, and then you pull it in from the edge to the edge.
Okay, show that, will you?
Yeah. So you're pulling it in.
Yeah.
And you can see it's.
And when you get a finished product, let's show.
Finished product, yeah. Like that, you see.
Yeah.
And we just put that on one side, and we do the same with all of these. So
That's crazy. I never knew that making a roll could be so intricate. There are people who do this every day of their lives.
People do this every day of their lives, yeah.
Yeah. Professional bakers.
I've never been a professional baker, but I assume that the technique is.
Would you like to be? And
it would be interesting to visit, yeah.
Say that you you moved to a small town in France. Would you open your own bakery?
I feel they have the trouble with the small town in France. There's a shortage of bakers.
There's a shortage of bakers
because young people don't want to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to bake the day's bread.
Good Lord, because that's when they're just going home from all their carousing on the town, or rioting, or whatever they're doing.
Pulling it in.
Yeah.
Pulling it in. Pulling it in.
Yeah. You never know what kids will get up to today.
Pulling it in, pulling it in.
Yeah.
Pulling it in. And then there's one more stage when we've done them all.
I led a quiet life when I was a kid. We only rioted, once every 2 years.
But it's actually quite when you don't do it every day. It's actually quite therapeutic.
Mm-hmm. Rioting, yeah.
Yeah, and breaking bread.
Oh,
and of course,
breaking bread or baking?
Making bread.
You have to bake it to break it.
Yeah, and the more you do it, like anything else in life, the more practice, the more you get a feel for how it should be.
Yeah. It looks like fun, actually. It's very satisfying.
Yes.
And then you make this and you go, holy goodness, great Scott, I've made a roll, and then you can eat that. You say, boy, I made it grow like the blob.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then what happens after this? Is you going to put it in the oven?
No, it's got to rise again. Maybe not quite as long. It's quite a warm day.
Right. It's got to rise again how long?
About half an hour.
Good.
Something like that.
Okay. Well, that's breaking bread.
Hang on, I haven't finished.
Or baking bread so we can break it. What else you got to say?
I just want to show you there's just a final step on the shaping.
Mm-hmm.
Which I will, since you're in a hurry, I'll just do then I'll show you.
Well, you don't have to do them all.
No, but
It's a bit like watching paint dry at a certain point.
Well, it's for you because you're impatient.
I'm not impatient. I'm thinking of our...
Then, because you want to actually, to give it a final shape, you put it on the table.
Right.
Put it your, keep your side of your hand down, and then just let it. Like
so
that.
you call that teasing the bun? Is that what that is?
You're just keeping the bottom of it underneath.
Mm-hmm. Teasing its bottom.
Yeah, you're keeping your hand on the table, and then between your thumb and your forefinger, and just your hand is cupping over it gently. And it just, you see, just gives that much kinder shape.
Good Lord, it's like watching Picasso.
And then you put it on a lightly greased tray.
Looking good, Nikki.
Yeah, not bad.
Wow, and I thought you were just a smooth voice on television.
Well, there you are, you see, hidden talents.
Yeah, incredible. And a lawyer, too. He's a lawyer, too, folks. Yeah. So it's like a one-stop shop for a number of excellent attributes.
For mental and physical nourishment.
Yeah.
It's quite... Now, what you can do, I mean, the trick is...
Now, just tell us like Prince Charles now.
delighted. No, what you can do, the trick is when you're not baking with a tin to support it,
Indeed.
you've got to get surface tension across the top of the roll.
Okay.
And we'll have a look maybe in half an hour because you can shape it a second time just to really get that surface tension across the top.
Oh yes, that's surface tension.
Because as it rises, you want it to rise upwards, not sideways. And of course, that takes years of skill, which I haven't yet acquired.
That's incredible.
But, you know, breaded tin is easy because the side of the tin gives you all the support. But if you make something like a bloomer,
A bloomer?
a bloomer loaf, it's an old English loaf. It's very. I've made a picture on my Instagram.
A bloomer loaf. Okay.
You want it to sort of be like a tube and not sort of splay out.
Okay.
You want the rolls to remain sort of pert and round.
You want them pert and round.
Not sort of, ideally not.
That's the way I like my buns.
Not so they're sort of saggy and droopy.
No, pert and round.
Pert and round.
All buns should be so.
I didn't quite, so we'll just finish these off. So that's the first bit. You do that, then you pull it in from right underneath, just to pull it right into the centre. And you're on the underside.
Flat buns are no good.
Yeah, well, this is, you get them for it because it's just the natural. There's nothing to stop the yeast, the dough, forming sideways now. So what you can do, what I do, we'll see whether it is, just to get that final round shape, is to actually shape them again, which a lot of people don't know you can do. A second time, because you'll see, we'll probably do that very quickly. After about 20, let's see what these look like after 20 minutes or so. Then we can just reshape them, and that means that when they go into the oven, they will have that really nice, they'll have retained this round shape.
Wonderful.
And they won't be like a burger bun, which is sort of flat.
Right, so in the future program, we've got baked buns, pert and round.
All being well.
All being well, and we've got a tart.
Yes.
Coming up, right?
And where did you put the tea now? Worth saying about tea towels, obviously, that's all you need to do, but use a clean tea towel. And ideally, the ones you use for bread, good idea not to wash them in your sort of lemon, your jasmine scented soap. So wash them in your washing machine with actually no soap at all. And then you can rinse them in by hand with a bit of bicarbonate of soda. Soda, which means you get a nice you don't get the taste of your tea towel transforming onto the bread.
Right.
Which you would otherwise
You don't want the soap taste.
You don't want your bread to taste of soap, ideally.
I think that's a good idea. Okay, is that anything else for now? That's
it
for now.
We just leave that for a few minutes.
And then you're going to put them into the...
Then they go into the oven.
So what are you doing now?
Well, these actually could go into the oven, but as you see, they've gone a bit, they've splayed out. So you don't have to do. They'd be fine if they went in now. And I'll actually leave some as they are now for you, so we see the difference. But what I like to do is just take them again, and then just reshape them again a bit, just to get them nice and tight. Just to,
tight buns. You're making now. Yeah.
And then again, actually, try need a bit of because they've got to stick a bit to the table, otherwise it won't work. You just slide around the table, you get nowhere. And then you see, just get
tighten up those buns. Said the actress to the bishop.
Tighten up those buns.
Or maybe the bishop said that to the actress. I'm not sure.
So much tighter. Do the same with this one. But you don't have to.
That's it.
It's a personal thing. If you were making beef burgers, then
let's just we'll just do a couple.
We'll just do. Then it will be slightly.
And they can see the difference.
Then people can see can see the difference.
Okay, and then we're going to pop this in the oven for 20 minutes, 15?
18.
18 minutes.
Thereabouts.
At what temperature? Same temperature as the tart?
No, 180 degree.
180. You've got two ovens.
These are going to be soft rolls.
You've got two ovens. That's amazing.
These are going to be soft rolls. If you wanted, a crusty roll and much harder, then you would put them into the oven at a higher temperature, say 210.
Wow.
Even. But anyway, if we just leave these covered again just for a few minutes, just to give the chance for this second shaping to rise a bit, then we will put them into the oven.
Right.
But if we just give it just a few more minutes, just so these ones
so we're going to let them rise for a bit. Okay, so we're still in the process, and now you've got to roll out the pastry and put it on there.
This is the pastry which has been in the fridge, so just a little bit of flour on the surface, just to So it doesn't stay. I mean, rolling out pastry is always a thing. You know, so you see it on television, it's always perfect. But when you do it yourself, it's never perfect.
It's never
I spoke to my sister, who's an excellent cook, and she said, no, her pastry is never perfect either.
It's never perfect.
But the thing about rolling pins, I mean, these are the sort you have here. I mean, useless. Not big enough. You need a proper, simple, wide rolling pin.
Okay. It has wider the better. Yeah.
The wider the better. You see, this has been in the fridge for quite a long time. It's quite, as you see, it's already beginning to sort of break. But that doesn't matter. You can
it's starting to break up a little bit.
You can roll it back together. You have no problem.
I see what you mean.
But you roll from the centre. You would roll from the centre outwards. Otherwise, you end up with something that's a very weird shape. So from the centre out, turn it a quarter. From the centre out. From the centre out. Turn it a quarter. Till it's the size you need to cover the... this is probably actually why a lot of people buy it, because it's already... You don't run the risk of having to sort of patch up holes and things. But there we go. Probably just a bit cold.
So just you're going to take this now and put it on top of the.
Once I've rolled it out, so it's so it's breaking. Of course, this being telly, it's bound to break a bit, isn't it? But not to worry. Press it together. It doesn't really law.
You just pick it up in one piece and put it on there.
Yeah, that's the idea. Once I'm confident it's about the right size, a bit of a way to go yet.
It's starting to make me hungry thinking about the future.
Yeah.
And how long does it take to cook all this stuff?
This will be when it goes in the oven. It's about 20 minutes.
It's only 20 minutes to cook the tart,
yeah.
and the rolls?
The rolls will be 18 minutes when they go in, but they'll go in the other oven.
Can I show the rolls right now?
Yeah.
Let's show them and show how they're rising, because people don't know that this is actually... Look at that. Isn't that amazing? Look, that's what we've been doing. Nicholas has been doing.
What I've been doing.
I've been talking.
You've been talking and generally causing chaos.
And getting hungry. Well, you've been working.
Working?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. It's work. It's hot in this kitchen.
Well, it is hot in the kitchen. We've got the lights, we've got the kitchen, we've got the stove.
We got the lights, we got a lot of lights here.
We got the ovens
from the
going,
television.
The
That's what, we've got the stove, we've got lights. It's hot. Yeah. It's hot work.
Hot work.
And plus it's very hot outside
it's a very
today.
Hot day, yeah.
It's about 80 something degrees. Yeah.
There we go, if we're lucky. So we lift that up like that.
Right.
And we take
80 something degrees in Fahrenheit, which was, by the way, don't get angry because I'm using Fahrenheit, because Fahrenheit was invented by a Polish fellow.
There we go. And
it's
then,
a Polish invention.
Well, you've got to be very careful because inside here you've got caramelized, very hot indeed, caramelized, very, very hot.
Oh, we just fold it over into, let me come around here. Yeah. So I don't want to block.
I mean, it's, you can be.
Okay.
If you don't, I mean, as you see, it's
you're folding it right in. Yeah.
Rolling out the pastry is not a...
And you're just going to put that in the oven the way it is,
you're
right?
Put it in the oven the way it is.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I apologise that the pastry is not quite as neat a job as it could be.
Is it therapeutic when you're doing it? You're creating, it's artistic. Is it? Do you get some therapy from it? Or?
Yeah, well, you take these ingredients you've sort of lying around the kitchen a couple of hours ago.
Yeah.
And then you create something which people actually quite like to eat.
Yeah, and then watching people eat it is great satisfaction, right?
So,
this is what moms feel like all over the world. And some dads, like Nicholas.
So there we are, you're just pushing it in there. Then it's a good idea to just to let the steam out so it crisps up a bit. I mean, it's...
So, we're waiting for the...
Tart, it's almost ready.
The tart is not...
Almost.
It's not quite ready. If we were French, we'd say she is not quite ready, because the tart is feminine, right?
She is not quite ready.
She is not quite ready.
You television people, you are...
No.
I've no idea of la grande cuisine.
Yeah. You'll cut my cooking into so many segments. No, it's not good.
What is this?
C'est pas possible.
There we are.
All right, this is it.
And those three we did just to make, and we'll see, but just to make them a bit more, so they rise a bit more. But they can.
And we're going to put this in the oven.
We're going to put this in the oven.
It's going to take how long?
It will take about 18 minutes. These are soft rolls. Now, if you wanted, You could glaze them with butter or olive oil or whatever.
We haven't glazed them though. These are non-glazed.
Because we're doing these as soft rolls.
We're doing things as soft rolls.
Right,
okay.
And
these are soft rolls.
And what we do, we're going to put these in the oven.
We're going to put those in the oven.
In the oven, but also what we are going to do is putting some boiled water on a tray on the bottom of the oven, which will create a lot of steam.
That creates the moisture that keeps them.
Which helps keep them soft.
Keeps them soft, right?
Keeps them soft. That's the idea. Now, also, if you wanted them to have a good crust,
I like a good crust.
You do the same, but you could also spray the top of them as well before they go in the oven.
Yeah.
Make them nice and crispy. But then you're putting them in at a much higher temperature, and you get that sudden burst of hot air and steam.
A burst of hot air.
Which helps them to go, in theory, upwards.
Like Moby Dick's.
Like Moby Dick's.
Spouting water.
Spouting water, no.
Yeah.
If we're lucky.
If it were steam.
This is just more or less, I think, almost ready.
Wow. Now, but we can't just dive in there with our hands.
No.
We have to wait for it to cool. How long is it?
No, we can eat it warm, but we have to wait about 3 minutes.
About 3 minutes.
I'm just going to.
Okay.
It could be. I mean, that is for the purpose of
no, but leave it longer if you need to.
I did think it just another minute.
Right. Another minute.
Just another minute.
Okay, we'll be right back. After the bumper, we're going to be taking out the apple pie and watching the buns cook.
Very exciting.
Stay with us. Wow, it's crazy. Yeah. Amazing. It's like working with a great sculptor.
You're working with a great artist.
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised.
You know what they say on TV? Never work with kids, dogs, or great artists.
Or Americans.
Or Americans? They say that?
No. But I'm just speaking from personal experience.
And you think it's easy for me?
No, well, yeah.
Although this upper lip is very stiff.
It is, yes.
You're wearing a tie and everything?
Well, this is what my family is.
But I'm ready to jump on a horse and ride across the prairie.
Well,
Englishmen
wear ties when they're riding horses.
You're not supposed to wear hats inside. And they don't like it in Poland either, I noticed that.
Well, they're civilized.
No hats inside, you have a lot of rules. We do. Yeah, you have a lot of rules. Okay.
It's important.
And we're going to now do what?
Take the tart out and see what's happened.
Okay.
See what's happened. And the key thing to remember, and the mistake I made many times, is this bit is easy because it's been in the oven.
Right.
The frying pan.
Right.
And there we are.
Be careful with that handle.
Yeah. Well, now you leave it here. Mm-hmm. What I've done in the past, we'll just leave it there to cool for a minute or two. Mm-hmm. As I've done that, I've distracted myself, and then I've gone back like that, and it's.
You can't touch it.
You can't touch it
because that's hot.
That's very hot. So I tend to just leave the glove on it.
So you remember.
So I remember. And
that's a good tip.
We just leave that. We don't want it to set. We don't want it to cool down, but we just leave it for a minute or so, just till it settles. Then we'll turn it out onto the plate. Mm-hmm. And the key thing here, because hot caramelized sugar is nasty stuff.
You don't want that on your arm.
You don't actually want that on the arm.
It's like acid.
Exactly. So as a precaution, I'll put over my arm.
If you didn't like somebody, you could always boil up some hot caramelized sugar to throw in their face.
Yes, you could. Yeah. That would not be very sporting, would it?
No, it wouldn't be very sporting. It's not cricket, that's for sure.
Or quite still loose. Because if you leave it to cool and set, you'll never get it out of the pan. But that seems actually not too bad.
And you flip it out? No, because you just got to come out like that's the top. It's got to come out like that, right?
No, that's the bottom.
Oh, that's the bottom. So you're going to flip it.
You're going to flip it.
You're going to flip it. You ready to flip it?
I think so.
You ready? You need some assistance? No, you can do this. You do this all the time.
Well, not all the time, but you do something like that, and then you've just got to be confident. You've just got to actually do it.
Okay.
Pick it up, and off you go.
Yeah, just be confident. Holy goodness gracious.
And there you have...
That's amazing.
There we have a tart tatin.
That is amazing. Put this over here.
I'll bring it up to the table. Yeah,
can you put it on the table?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite okay. So it's the pan. I'll just
I feel like I've done something today.
I'll just leave that.
And I haven't done anything except watch.
But that is more or less a tart tatin.
That is incredible. You're going to make some lucky woman a wonderful wife.
I mean, it could have been. I've noticed because it's in the oven at at a slant, not in the centre. It tends on sometimes it just gets a bit overdone on one side. Would you like to try it?
I would, very much. That's what I'm waiting for.
You're waiting for
This is the good part. The only reason I did this was so I could get a free piece of pie at the end. I'm saving money.
a piece of pie at the end.
Saving money.
There was a request that people wanted to see this food actually being eaten. So there we are.
Okay.
So
very good.
Let's cut into that.
Meanwhile, them rolls are rising. Fantastic. That's super. It's going to be hot, but I'm going to try
it. Eat it. Ideally, you would eat it hot.
I'm going to try it. I hope this caramelized sugar doesn't kill me. Oh, it's a bit hot.
Woo! It will be just out of the oven.
Amazing. The caramelized sugar does makes a big difference.
Yeah, but the other stuff, the star anise, the vanilla, the calvados, the cinnamon.
It's really good, folks.
You don't really need it, but it just, the thing on television will just tart it up a bit. A tarted up tart.
I am trying very hard not to sink my whole face into this beautiful pie. It's incredible. I would have thought that, if we didn't have ladies in the world, we'd have no pies. But as long as we got you and guys like you, even if there were no ladies, we'd still have pies.
We'd still have pie.
Yeah, we'd still have pie. Now, we're waiting now for the pièce de la résistance.
Well, that was a pièce de la résistance.
That's it. Okay, then what are the rolls?
Just
chopped liver?
They're just, day-to-day sustenance.
Day-to-day sustenance, okay.
Right, I think we'll get them out.
Let's get them out. Yeah, they should be ready.
They should be ready. And there we...
Oh my goodness.
There we are.
Oh boy, that looks amazing.
Beautiful rolls.
Now look at this, the ones you redid.
You see, if they are...
They're more compact.
And they're rounder. They're just a bit rounder.
They're a bit more compact.
But these are lovely. They
all look good. This looks just like I used to... What's that bakery that you go to in UK that has the Baps? These look like Baps to me.
Great.
Are these Baps?
Well, they're more Bappish, aren't they? That was the point I was trying to illustrate.
Yeah.
So I need another glove, probably.
Yeah.
I burn myself.
And so we get into this. So in this series we have come to Nick's, the kitchen where Nick makes Nicky's Nosh? Nicky's Nosh?
Nikos Nosh, I think.
Nikos Nosh, right. Nikos Nosh. There's something Greek about that. Are you part Greek like
no,
Prince Philip?
No, but it just seemed a good,
Because Prince Charles is part Greek. That may be why you can do the accent. No, nothing to do with that. Okay. Anyway, those are the rolls. That's what's left of the pie. You see, we almost ate half of it because, let's face it, we're greedy. We're greedy. That's it. Anyway, it's all very tasty. Can we slice one of those, put some cheese in there? It'd be good, wouldn't it? Yeah, let's do that. Thank you for watching. This has been Nicholas Richardson making
tarte tatin and soft white bread rolls.
Yeah. And would you like to say anything to your fans?
Thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Really, it wouldn't be the same without you. Some of you were mad enough to say you wanted to see me in the kitchen cooking. So at least one of your life's ambitions has been realised. And maybe we'll do this again if they'll have me back in front of the camera.
Do it again.
Poland Daily Travel, Cookery Edition.
Do it again. Cookery Edition.
Cookery Edition.
I never thought I would be doing this.
No,
it's your fault.
Oh, well.
Usually I'm tramping around looking at castles.
Exactly.
Talking to beautiful women on the beach.
Well, I'm sorry I got in the way.
Or in the park.
I'm sure I got in the way.
But this was fun. I really enjoyed it. We'll do it again. Nick, thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to put some cheese in one of those and just eat it down.
Yeah, because they're very nice. And you just see how
beautiful.
Soft they are. Yeah. That lovely soft.
Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much. See you next time.